A sudden explosion tore through the night sky, illuminating the Iranian landscape. The ground shook violently as the air crackled with the unmistakable roar of military firepower. Smoke rose from the desert, a thick black cloud blotting out the horizon. In the distance, the facility known to many as Iran's most critical nuclear site, the Fordow facility, stood in ruins. A pinpoint strike, surgically precise, yet devastating in its outcome. This wasn't a typical attack. This was an Israeli airstrike that sent shockwaves throughout the region. In an instant, one of the most highly guarded facilities in Iran was no more. And the implications? They could ripple across the Middle East, altering the geopolitical landscape forever. This was not simply a military operation, it was an escalation of the highest order. According to Israeli officials, the attack was a direct response to Iran's growing nuclear capabilities, specifically the alleged enrichment of uranium beyond internationally accepted limits. The Israeli military claimed to have targeted Iran's underground Fordow facility, one of the country's most fortified sites. Sources close to the Israeli government emphasized that the strike was a preventative measure designed to delay Iran's nuclear weapons program, which Tel Aviv views as an existential threat. The attack was reportedly carried out with precision-guided munitions, ensuring minimal collateral damage but sending a clear signal: Israel will not tolerate a nuclear-armed Iran. Israeli defense spokesman made it clear that this operation was not just a retaliation, but a warning to Tehran. Israel will act if diplomacy fails. But the story quickly became far more complicated. Before we break down the broader implications of this airstrike, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss the latest dramatic developments shaping global geopolitics. According to Iranian officials, the airstrike on the Fordow facility was an unprovoked and illegal act of aggression, a violation of Iranian sovereignty. Tehran has vehemently denied any intention of weaponizing its nuclear program, arguing that its enrichment activities are strictly for peaceful purposes, primarily for energy production. Iranian officials condemned the Israeli attack, claiming it was part of a broader campaign of sabotage against the country's nuclear ambitions. The Iranian government quickly vowed retaliation, with officials stating that Israel would pay a heavy price for its actions. Iran also called for an emergency meeting of the United Nations, calling for international condemnation of Israeli military action. Tehran's response is expected to include not only military retaliation, but also escalatory moves in the nuclear arena, potentially pushing uranium enrichment levels even further. Between these narratives lies a complex reality that analysts are still working to understand. What does this mean for the stability of the Middle East? The answer is as urgent as it is stark. This latest escalation could trigger an unprecedented wave of military and diplomatic responses, with the potential to destabilize an already volatile region. Israel maintains that it acted in self-defense, ensuring its security in the face of what it considers an existential nuclear threat. Iran, on the other hand, maintains that it has the sovereign right to pursue nuclear technology for peaceful purposes, and that Israel's actions were an outright provocation designed to thwart its progress. The conflict between these competing narratives suggests a volatile future, one in which the risk of direct military confrontation is increasingly real. The Fordow facility is of immense strategic significance. Located deep within Iran's mountainous terrain, it is protected by layers of concrete, designed specifically to withstand aerial bombardment. It plays a crucial role in Iran's nuclear program, serving as one of the country's primary enrichment sites. The facility is believed to be capable of enriching uranium to levels that could eventually fuel nuclear weapons, making it a high-value target for Israel, which has long maintained a policy of preventing Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons at any cost. The attack on Fordo carries a powerful message. Israel will not hesitate to use military force to disrupt Iran's nuclear ambitions, even if it means risking broader regional conflict. The message was clear. Israel is willing to escalate its military operations to ensure that Iran never becomes a nuclear-armed power. The immediate consequences of the Israeli airstrike were swift and severe. Iran quickly moved to bolster its defenses and increased its military presence near key nuclear sites. The Iranian military also threatened to retaliate against Israel and its allies, suggesting that further strikes could be imminent. Meanwhile, Tehran ramped up its nuclear activities, increasing enrichment levels to levels not seen since before the 2015 nuclear deal. That spike in uranium enrichment has consequences far beyond the Middle East. The global energy market reacted sharply, with oil prices surging to their highest levels in months, fueled by fears that the escalating conflict could disrupt key shipping routes in the Strait of Hormuz. Oil prices rose, gasoline costs climbed, global energy expenses surged. This sudden shockwave in the oil market is a reminder of how quickly Middle Eastern conflicts can ripple across the global economy. The regional responses were equally dramatic. Arab states, including Saudi Arabia, cautiously watched the developments from the sidelines, concerned about the wider implications of an Israeli-Iranian conflict. Saudi Arabia has long viewed Iran as a regional rival, but the potential for a broader war in the Gulf threatens to destabilize the entire region. Meanwhile, the United Arab Emirates, which has increasingly aligned with Israel in recent years, has offered tacit support for the Israeli strike, though they have refrained from outright endorsement. This delicate balancing act between regional powers adds another layer of complexity to an already dangerous situation. That spike in oil prices has consequences far beyond the Middle East. As tensions mount, global markets are bracing for further volatility, and international diplomacy is already scrambling to contain the fallout. On the global stage, the United Nations has called for restraint from both parties, urging Israel to refrain from further strikes and for Iran to limit its nuclear activities. However, diplomatic efforts have been complicated by the fact that both Israel and Iran are deeply entrenched in their positions. U.S. officials have expressed strong backing for Israel's right to defend itself, while also urging both sides to avoid all-out conflict. The broader international community remains divided, with European powers calling for renewed negotiations, and China and Russia, both of whom have deep economic ties with Iran, pushing for sanctions relief and diplomatic engagement. That spike in geopolitical instability has consequences far beyond the immediate crisis. The political fallout could influence the broader debate over military intervention in the Middle East for years to come. Israel maintains that it acted to safeguard its national security by targeting Iran's nuclear capabilities. Iran maintains that it is merely exercising its sovereign right to pursue nuclear energy and that Israel's actions were an outright provocation designed to thwart its progress. The conflict between these competing narratives suggests a volatile future, one in which the risk of direct military confrontation is increasingly real. Will this airstrike remain an isolated incident, or is it the beginning of something far larger? Stay tuned for further updates as this situation continues to develop. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss the latest dramatic geopolitical developments shaping the world.